Chapter 15. The wound of reaching Benjamin and Caleb were born 3 months apart, in the same town, under the same weight of wanting. Benjamin fell first. She was quiet, bright-eyed, and pulled back just enough to keep his attention wrapped around her like a thread. He reached early, steadily, without flinching. Not loud, not needy, just present. She said she wasn't ready, said she liked him, said the timing was hard. But she kept showing up, just enough, close enough to taste, far enough to ache. He held the space for a year. When she finally came around, softer, open, warm again, he thought maybe it could finally start. But it was too late. Something in him had already closed. She didn't know that the season she spent weighing her options was the season he spent losing faith. He didn't blame her, not out loud, but he never fully gave himself to her again. And she felt it. She came with her hands open, and he met her with one behind his back. No shouting, no cruelty, just a missing fire that never came back. She eventually left, and he didn't stop her. He said later, "She wanted me when I didn't want her anymore. That's how it always works." But it wasn't about want. It was about timing, and the wound of carrying the weight too long. Caleb's story was quieter. He chased someone once. She didn't look back. Never even gave him a real no, just drifted off like so many others. After that, he swore off reaching, said it didn't matter, said he was fine. When he met Leah, she was kind, consistent. She liked him from the start, reached for him, stayed, and he chose her. Not out of fire, but out of calm. She loved him deeply, always present, always willing. But something in her began to notice. His eyes didn't light up when she walked in the room. He kissed her with habit, not hunger. He showed up, but never all the way. She asked once, "Are you happy?" And he didn't know what to say, because he wasn't unhappy. He just wasn't burning, not like he had once wanted to. And she felt it. No matter how hard she tried, he never reached first. Not really. He never stopped her from doubting, never chased her when she cried. She stayed. But she knew she wasn't the one he had wanted, just the one who didn't run. Benjamin didn't talk much about what it cost him to wait. He just worked more, built more, kept moving. On the outside, it looked like he healed, but inside, something stayed guarded. Every time someone got too close, he measured the weight of their presence. Would they stay this time? Would they choose early? Or wait until he was already gone? He didn't punish women outright. He was kind, but he didn't reach anymore. Not really. And anyone who asked him to carry the emotional weight again found a closed door. He dated here and there, but never let it burn. He said he wanted peace, but what he really wanted was to not be the one hurting again. The cost of reaching first had left its mark. Caleb built a life. He and Leah bought a house, had 2 kids, even started a little business together. And to everyone around them, they looked solid, functional, blessed. But Leah knew. She knew in the quiet moments, when her hand found his in the dark and he didn't squeeze back, when she cried and he froze instead of leaning in, when she offered all of herself and he only ever gave what he could spare. She never said it out loud, but the silence between them grew thick with wondering. If I had made him wait, would he want me more? If I had pulled away, would he have reached for me harder? But she wasn't built to play games. She loved openly. She gave freely. And sometimes that's not rewarded. Over time, her anxiety turned inward. She got quieter, nicer, numb. 2 friends, 2 paths. One waited and closed. The other stopped reaching and stayed. And in different ways, they both became men who no longer trusted their reach. Not because they didn't want love, but because love had once asked too much. And the women? One pulled away too long, the other loved too early, neither meant to wound, but both ended up holding silence they didn't know how to break. This is the shape of love when wounds go unnamed. Not villain and victim. Not right or wrong. Just mistimed ache, and the scars it leaves behind. Closing tag, told from the women's side. She never meant to hurt him. When Benjamin reached for her, she felt it. His presence, his steadiness, his clarity. And it scared her. Not because he was unkind, but because he was real. And real meant risk. She had learned long ago that the closer someone came, the more they could take. So she stepped back, not to play games, not to manipulate, but because her system said slow down or disappear. She watched him hold the space, and a part of her loved him for it. But another part felt guilty, like she was using up something precious just by being uncertain. So she tried to go quiet, tried to figure it out. But by the time she knew what she wanted, his eyes had changed. And when she came back, heart open, he was kind, but not soft. He didn't blame her, but he didn't trust her anymore either. And in a way, that hurt more, because she wasn't afraid anymore. But now he was. She left, not because she didn't love him, but because she knew he'd never really let her close again. She missed the timing. And that's the kind of ache you don't forget. Leah knew from the start that Caleb wasn't burning. She saw the way he carried his silences, the way he avoided certain memories, the way his eyes drifted when he thought no one was watching. But she stayed, not because she was desperate, but because she believed love could grow. Because she saw his goodness. Because she knew what it was like to be overlooked, and she didn't want to do that to someone else. So she poured in. And for a while, it felt like enough. But eventually, she started to wonder, would he still be here if someone else had said yes? Would he still have chosen me if he'd gotten the one he wanted? She hated that question, hated that she asked it. But it lived in the quiet places, under the surface of his distance, in the space between his shoulder and hers in bed. She didn't need fireworks. She just needed to feel seen, fully chosen. But Caleb never lied. He never promised fire, and she never asked for more than he gave. They just missed each other by a few years, and a few wounds too many. The story wasn't his or hers. It was theirs. Wounds colliding, timing breaking, good people doing their best to love through the fog. Nobody played games. Nobody meant to wound. But love, when shaped by fear, still leaves scars. And sometimes the ones who don't reach, they carry just as much ache. They just carry it quieter. For a genuine bond to form, both parties must risk vulnerability in unison, deliberately choosing exposure without reservation. They lay their shadows bare, naming the ache that's kept them guarded, and then step forward as equals. Not one testing, one retreating. Simply two hearts colliding clean.